All right, so we're back in art, and this week we're going to be learning about koi fish. And there's something very interesting about koi fish. In the Japanese culture, they're considered really good luck. And I think that's so great because we are going to bring that into our worlds, and we're going to be drawing koi fish today. Some fun facts about koi fish. They actually have a bunch of different breeds. And this, just like we have dog breeds, like you have a poodle, you have a bulldog, you have a chihuahua, they also have koi fish breeds. And the reason you could tell the different breeds is the pattern and the colors on the koi fish. So I've actually attached a file in the Google Classroom of different photos of different colored and breeds of koi fish that you can look at. And the colors and the breed actually determines their price, also the size. The more rare the breed and the color spots and the larger they are, the more expensive they are. So that's really interesting about koi fish. I think they're super beautiful. I'm excited to get to draw them with you. So we could see these, if some of you might have seen them before in koi ponds. Some people have them in their backyard, or some malls have koi fish ponds, or if you go to a park, sometimes there's a koi fish pond. So there's a bunch of places that we can see them here in the United States as well. You don't have to go to Japan to see them. We do have them here as well. So I'm super excited to get started. What you'll need for this project is a piece of paper, pencil and eraser as usual, black coloring supply. I like Sharpie, but if you do not have the Sharpie, that's fine. You can use a black crayon or color pencil. And you're going to need some sort of coloring supplies of a variety of colors. So for this, I would use either watercolor, tempera paints, colored pencils, markers, crayons, whatever you have. So go ahead, get those started, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start drawing some of our good luck koi fish. All right, so today we're gonna get started. We're gonna be drawing our koi fish today. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is we're going to draw out like a zucchini shape. And if you don't know what that looks like, it's kind of like this. You're gonna do a nice long curved line. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a large curved line or backwards C on one side, and then on the other side, you're gonna make a small C shape. So you have a nice long curved line with a backwards parentheses or C shape, and on this side, a C shape or a small parentheses on the side. So a large one on this side, a small one on that side. Then we're gonna connect those two with another curved line. So right there, that is that shape that we're looking for. It's kind of like the shape of a zucchini. And the next step is we're gonna draw a guideline. For those of you who don't remember what a guideline is, it's not a permanent line. We're going to draw it, and it's gonna help us guide us and help us to draw the next details of our artwork, but we actually are going to erase it in the end. And what I want you to do is I want you to draw towards the top. You're gonna come down just a little bit, and you're lightly going to draw a light guideline across the whole thing. So I came down just a little bit and I drew my line. You notice how my line is lighter because it's a guideline and I want to be able to erase it. Then what we're going to do next is we're going to come to the front, the larger side of our koi fish. And we're going to come back a little bit. And we're going to draw a backwards C shape on the center of it, should be on that guideline. Then we're gonna come back a little bit further and we're gonna draw a C shape that connects to the bottom, but the top should not connect to the guideline. It should be lower than the guideline. This is the gill of our koi fish. This is where they breathe out of. All right, now it's time to draw the eye, and this is just gonna be in front of the gill. Towards the bottom, we're gonna draw a nice oval shape for that eye. The step-by-step directions for this, by the way, is on the Google Classroom. So if you're falling behind or you need to see it firsthand of all the steps, you can pull it up on the Google Classroom. All right, we're gonna start to draw the fins now. So koi fish have two sets. They have their back ones and their front ones. So how we're gonna draw the front one, we're gonna draw a nice round one like this here. And then on the other side, we're gonna do the same thing, but it's gonna be a little smaller because the body's covering part of it. And then for the back one, we're gonna make a curved line, but I wanna make this one a little bit softer so it has some zigzag lines coming off of it that connect right to the back of that koi fish. So I have my fins. Now I'm gonna do the back tail. So how we do the tail is we're going to add, and if you want, sorry, I forgot to say this. If you wanted to add a little bit on this side, you can, but you don't have to. So for the tail, we're gonna come and we're just gonna make a long finger looking shape coming out of the end of our koi fish. Now that we have that, we're gonna add the pieces that come off of it, which is similar to the back fin. We're gonna have one line with zigzags that connect, and we're gonna do it on both sides. So it could be longer if you want. So that's my tail of my koi fish. All right, now we're gonna come up top to that guideline, and this is really what we need that guideline for. And on top of that guideline, we're gonna just start to do this zigzag shape. And we're gonna stop about halfway. And we wanna make that guideline darker just underneath that zigzag shape. And then we're gonna do another one. And I like to make mine a little smaller as it gets towards the back and draw that line underneath the zigzag. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our eraser and you're gonna erase anything that is not connected to that zigzag. Anything on that guideline that's not connected to that zigzag. And since I drew my line, it disappeared really easily. All right, so koi fish have nice big fishy lips, so we need to draw those fishy lips. And how you're gonna do that is right at the top, we're gonna draw 2 lumps for the lips of those fish. And right like that, you've got a koi fish. So I'm gonna come back in. If you wanna do this, you can. And I'm just gonna add some details to my koi fish, some lines in my fins and tail to make it look a little more realistic. And I'm also gonna start to add my patterns onto my koi fish. So I have put up on the Google Classroom a bunch of inspiration photos of koi fish. You can look up your own koi fish if you want to draw it. If the fins are different on the koi fish you chose, you can draw your fins like that. And I'm going to start to draw my patterns. So I want mine to have almost spots. There's actually one that's called like a skeleton. It's black and white and looks kind of like a skeleton. All right, so I drew my fish out. You're more than welcome to draw multiple fish. If you're gonna draw different fish, turn your paper. Draw them going in different directions because this is gonna be as if we're looking on top of a pond and seeing them swim below us. So maybe I wanna come in and make a small one because remember I said they come in all different sizes. And I could come in. Add in another one. So. All right, right, so I drew in 2. You could draw 3, 5. You could just do 1. If you do 1 though, I want to make sure it takes up the entire paper. So make sure it takes up the whole paper if you're just doing 1. If you're doing multiples, you can make them a little bit. 1 big, 1 small, 1 medium. That is up to you. All right, so I have mine colored in. If you want, you could come in and Sharpie your lines. That's what I like to do. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can use black crayon or black colored pencil. If you want to jump right into coloring, you can. Just be careful if you're using watercolor or marker because it will smudge the pencil, and that's why I like to use a darker color for to outline the black Sharpie to outline all your lines. So I'm going to go ahead Sharpie and then come back and show you how I'm going to color this in. All right, so I Sharpied my koi fish, and what I'm gonna do is just come in and try and erase any pencil that I have in here. This is important because if you're using marker or watercolor, anything that's gonna bleed, if you're using colored pencil or crayon, it's probably fine. But you don't want it to look messy. So you want to try and get rid of some of that pencil if you can. All right, so I'm going to come in. You can use, I'm either going to use marker or watercolor. I think I'm going to use a combination of both. So how we're going to do this is for the background, I think I'm going to use watercolor. And for the koi fish, I'm going to use some marker. And I think I'm going to use some orange for my koi fish. And look at the ones that I showed on the Google Classroom because some of them have really cool patterns to them, like orange, red. Some even have this pinkish color in them. Some of them are all orange. They almost look like goldfish. So you could play around with these and have fun with it. Maybe this one has a red spot on it. And I'm going to show you a technique with marker that you can add shading to make it look more realistic. So you fill it in and you let it dry for a little bit. And you're going to come back in either with the same color or a darker version of that color. So I have a darker orange here or a lighter one. I'll show you the lighter one, the regular one first. So you come in and you take the same color that you just colored the whole piece in with. And around the outside, you're going to go and do a second layer around the outside and it'll become darker. And this will create a shadow. If you want it to be even more pronounced, that shadow, you can come in with an orange that's darker and you go over it on the edge to create that shadow. So shadows really make it look more realistic. So at the bottom, it would be darker because that's where the light is not hitting it. So on this side, it'll probably be dark too because we're looking at it from above. I'm just coming in and adding a little bit of that dark color for some shadow. Same thing with the red. I could either come back in with the same red that I used and do a second layer for that shadow. Or I could come in with the darker red to really get it to pop out and add that shadow in. And that makes it look like that has that shadow, that shading. All right, so I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna color in my koi fish using my markers and this technique, and then I'm gonna come in with watercolor, and I think I'm gonna paint the background just because it's a bigger piece and I don't want my marker to run out, so I'm gonna use my watercolors. If you wanna use marker or a different material, you're more than welcome to. Crayons, colored pencils, they last a little bit longer than the markers. But if you have lots of markers on hand, feel free to use those. All right, so I'm gonna come back, show you what it looks like, and we'll review. All right, so here's my koi fish. I think it turned out really nice. I really like this one because I used 3 types of colors. Yeah, and I had fun with it. So you can see I used watercolor and marker for mine. You can use 1 supply, you can use 3 supplies, that is up to you. I can't wait to see what your koi fish look like in the designs that you give them and what kind of water you're gonna create. I added some swirls to mine to make it look like the water was moving and almost like it's raining on top of the pond. So have fun with it. I hope your koi fish bring you good luck, and I can't wait to see what you draw.